Hello, Quarter Plus. My name is Kirsten, she, her pronouns, and I am a prevention specialist in health education here at Campus Health and Wellbeing. Basically, what that means is I work with high-risk behaviors and drug and alcohol use across the board on campus. I've been asked to come and talk to you today about several topics. As the learning assistants for Quarter Plus, you will be the go-to for highly driven, achievement-oriented students. Many of you may have become learning assistants because of your own experience in Quarter Plus and the impact that your LA has had on you. I want you to be armed with as much information and as many resources as you possibly can to ensure that you and the students you will be mentoring have what you need to succeed. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Today, I will be talking about a lot of things. I want to talk to you about how to support your own and others' holistic health and what that means. We'll talk about stress and eustress and everything in between. I'll give you a brief description of mindfulness and ways that you can practice it. And then we'll dive into some warning signs, how to help, and resources available to you. Toward the end, we'll be talking about ways that you can identify signs of mental health challenges in people that you know, including the students that you'll be mentoring. And if at any point you feel overwhelmed by the content, please take a pause. Pause the video, take a breather, get support, ask for help, and come back to it when you're ready. But before we start, I wanted to jump into who we are at Campus Health and Wellbeing. So we offer a myriad of services, all available to students and developed for students. And what's unique about that is that these are almost in their entirety covered by student fees. And so most of the time, a student can walk in and be seen for a multitude of different reasons for very little, if any, additional money. We offer services ranging from medical services to counseling services. And counseling services has newly added a new crisis support team. We also have peer health education or well-being and health education. Within health education, we have roughly 50 peer wellness educators who are trained in a variety of topic areas to serve students for walk-in, or in this case, Zoom in, we hope, and scheduled one-on-one consultations, as well as the planning and execution of cross-campus programming. So many of you have seen us present in WOW or in your classes or with some of your clubs and organizations. Our focus areas within peer wellness education are substance recovery, our Mustangs for Recovery program, which works with students who are in recovery or seeking sobriety. Our physical health team, who works with all avenues of physical health, including diet and exercise. Our sexual health team, who works with STI prevention, pregnancy prevention, and also relationship issues. Our mental well-being team is our catch-all for stress and homesickness and roommate issues. Our gender-based and power-based violence prevention, education, and advocacy, so we house SAFER, as well as our alcohol, cannabis, and other drugs or Party Safe team. Within health services, we host a number of services, including a walk-in clinic, a pharmacy with over-the-counter medications available, labs, x-rays, specialized medicine, and most of it is free or very low cost for students. Within counseling services, we offer one-on-one counseling, crisis support services, pre-scheduled group therapy, as well as drop-in groups, and it is free for students. And within peer wellness programs and health education, which I noted the topic areas in a previous slide, we have several different programming options that we include, including one-on-one peer coaching. Students can meet with a peer wellness coach for one-on-one consultations for a variety of different health topics. Walk-ins will be available on a limited basis, assuming that we are on site in fall. We offer dialogue groups, and right now our dialogue groups are being hosted on Zoom. They include the mental health dialogue group, 4 recovery meetings per week for students in recovery or seeking recovery, and we're adding new programming all the time. We also do educational presentations, some like this, that are really customized for the need of the group or the class. We also do outreach during WOW and during slow days to ensure that everyone is getting a baseline of health education. And the topics listed there to your right are all the topics that we discussed. And why we do that, and why I've given you all this up front, is because we really do view wellness as a holistic thing. It's not just being physically not ill, it's being well. And so the 7 pillars of health include spiritual, emotional, social, physical, environmental, occupational, and financial health. Each one of these domains has an effect on your overall well-being. And we define well-being as the state of being happy, healthy, or prosperous. So again, it's not the lack of illness, but actually the pursuit of wellness. The state of being happy, healthy, and prosperous. Really consider those domains. Can you think of at least one way you're able to support your wellness in each of one of those domains? I encourage you to take a moment, pause the video, make a note, and reflect on how you practice self-care in each of these sections, in your social, in your physical, environmental, occupational. I ask you to reflect on your own wellness because as leaders and as carers for the quarter plus students, it's really important that you fill your own cup first. You can't pour from an empty cup. Also, everything that I talk about today is going to be applicable to the new students and to you. So my hope is that you'll apply these things to yourself as we're working through this, and that when you're working with students, they will come in somewhat as second nature to you in supporting their health and wellness. So to jump right into the new students, I ask you to think about what you remember from your first year, from your first quarter, maybe your first quarter plus at Cal Poly. It's a pretty stressful, exciting, and somewhat overwhelming time. You're juggling so many responsibilities, feeling the pressure to perform academically, maybe in ways that you hadn't been asked to in the past. Your grades, your assignments, the midterms, dealing with student loans and possible financial issues. But also taking on that, on top of that, is transitioning. You're going from your home to a new home. Making new friends and finding community are incredibly important to new students. Added to the stress and sense of ambiguity of the new space, it can be quite stressful and drive a multitude of other behaviors. So we're going to dive into what stress is and how you know when you're stressed. It affects every major bodily operation: breathing, sleep, the ability to handle intense emotions, eating habits, self-care, routine, substance use. We have the question, what else is affected by stress? And I think that you will answer that in uniquely your own ways, depending on your own circumstances and your own experiences. But if you look at the image that I've included, you can see where stress might rear its ugly head. Now, in the interest of talking about stress kind of holistically again, in and of itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you look at the two definitions, eustress, which is a moderate or normal psychological stress interpreted as being beneficial for the experiencer, and stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. They seem as different as night and day, but they do share in common the response. In both cases, the factor that is in common that they do share is that the stressor itself is not the stress. It is our response to it. So the difference between stress and eustress is often as simple as interpretation. Well, what does that mean? We're surrounded by stressors every day. It is often, but not always, how we interpret those stressors and how we act on those stressors that determine whether or not they have negative consequences or positive or neutral ones. So if you've ever heard of the concept of flow, it states basically that is the moment that you are challenged just enough, just focused enough, using a skill, and when you lose track of time and just do what you're doing, you're completely engrossed in whatever you're doing. Eustress can be a catalyst for that, right? Eustress can push and challenge you, resulting in a challenge accepted, fear defeated. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't experience stress, nor does it mean that all things fall within a manipulatable range. Some things are just stressful, period. However, there are times when we can prepare adequately, take care of ourselves, be ready to meet that stressor. That eustress can actually help us accomplish things that we could not have otherwise done. So avoiding stress doesn't mean avoiding challenge. It simply means preparing so that you can meet it in ways that work for you and make you more able to handle unexpected stressors. Okay, so sometimes it's our interpretation, but also there are some very real and concrete ways that you can manage your stress. One way is through time management. It seems troublesome and not super fun, but really can help you manage your course load and stress load. In looking at the schedule, it may seem sufficient, but as you can see along the side, what's missing are things like breakfast, sleep, meditation or exercise, time with your friends, time to study, family time, and a number of other things. This will help you manage your course load, but in looking at it, have you planned that big assignment that's due at the end of the quarter? And what are the weekly milestones that you need to hit in order to stay on course with that assignment? This can be a really helpful tool to help you stay within the eustress range and not veer into stress. Your food intake is another key factor in helping you maintain a healthy balance. Food has a huge effect on our mood. If any of us, and I will own this, have eaten hot Cheetos for lunch and realize an hour later that not only am I hungry, but I'm tired and I don't want to do anything and I can't focus. Or if you get hangry, again, like myself, food and mood really influence each other, and it's a very delicate relationship. I believe that we all instinctively or specifically know that what we eat has an effect on how we feel. But it can be tough when pressed for time and stressed for our favorite comfort food is a phone call away. So here are some things to help keep you on track. Eat regular meals and snacks. Helps you keep your blood sugar level and you have fewer dips in energy. Drink water, hydrate. If you don't drink enough fluid, you may find it difficult to concentrate or to think clearly. You might also start to feel constipated, which puts no one in a good mood. Don't skip meals. You're more likely to overindulge and then get tired if you wait until you're hangry to gorge yourself and then you're exhausted. Fruits and vegetables. Okay, so I know fruits and vegetables are not everyone's favorite, but vegetables and fruit contain numerous amounts of minerals, vitamins, and fiber to keep us healthy and mentally awake. But last and definitely not least is know thyself. As tempting as it is, limit refined carbohydrates, candy, soda. They generally spike you, make you feel great for about 20 minutes, and then you hit the crash. Also, limit or avoid alcohol. It is a depressant, can disturb your sleep patterns, and can exacerbate anxiety. Do make sure you get plenty of protein. It slows the absorption of carbohydrates, can increase the release of norepinephrine and dopamine, both of which are happy hormones. Eat foods rich in vitamin D and B12, as they've been shown to help improve mood. Don't forget that fiber slows absorption of sugar to help you balance your blood sugar, and it can also increase the levels of the feel-good hormone serotonin. So, we've talked about some of those physical actions you can take, some things that might help you to be more in control and more proactive around your mood. But I'm going to bring up mindfulness and ask you to think very quickly about what comes to mind when I say the word mindfulness. The answers will be varied, but oftentimes I find that students hear mindfulness and it stresses them out more. The feeling that you need to be sitting somewhere quietly in full lotus position and seeking enlightenment. While that is an awesome goal, and if it works for you, keep doing it. And if you want to give it a shot, I highly recommend it. Mindfulness is really a much simpler concept. It is being in the present moment, fully devoting your attention to what you are doing. Think about the last time we did that. When was the last time you remember being completely engrossed in the meal you were eating, or truly present in your walk from class to class? We're more often than not planning for the future or thinking about the past. and not truly mindful of what we are experiencing at that moment. And that's because, in part, as many simple concepts are, it is simple, but not necessarily easy, but definitely worth it. It works by allowing you to practice being a witness to your thoughts and emotion rather than being swept at the tide of how you feel and or what you think. Mindfulness gives you a moment to settle and reminds you that you are the ocean and not the wave. But lest you think there is only one way to practice mindfulness, you can do just about anything mindfully. It starts to begin to teach your brain new ways of being present and has an impact on your levels of stress and overall well-being. Try each of these things once. Breathe. This is a simple breathing technique that you can do anywhere. No one can tell you're doing it, and you can share widely. You breathe in for 4 counts, hold that breath for 7 counts, and exhale it for 8 counts. And do that a few times. You will find that your heart rate slows down and you start to feel a little bit more in control of what's happening for you. But you can do mindfulness doing, again, anything. Eating, really paying attention to your food. What does it taste like? What's the texture? How does your body respond to it? How do you feel after you eat it? We go back to the eating slide talking about Cheetos. Really feel how your body responds to what you're eating. In any exercise, you can do it mindfully. As a matter of fact, I recommend it. Feeling your body stretch, notice which muscles are working, notice how your body responds, react appropriately if you hit a painful spot. But again, you can do anything mindfully. It just means paying attention in that moment to what you are doing wholeheartedly. Well, I know that these are not simple. Well, they are simple, but I know that they are difficult to put into your practice. Know that they'll be worth it and are helping your brain train to do more and better things. Okay, so we've practiced a few things to help you stay healthy. We've talked about food, we've talked about mindfulness, stress, general wellness, but you're also going to be working with a brand new crop of college students who come into college with a perception of what college life will be like. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment, think back about what your own perceptions were when you came to Cal Poly. What did you think that you would meet? Unfortunately, this is too often what students think they will meet when they come to Cal Poly. I work with students, and often they reflect that when they came to Cal Poly, they expected a work hard, play hard atmosphere. They expected to be run ragged by classes, surrounded by people, exhausted, and then party to, quote, take the edge off. And these perceptions can come from a number of places. We could start listing out movies or TV shows or even Insta posts that have to do with the first year of college. And so often, these are the images that we're greeted with. They can come from media, family, friends, from community. And why that's important is because no matter how accurate the perceptions are, they have an effect on how we move through the college experience, right? And there is a very stark difference between perception and reality. Of 1,400 first-year students that we polled through our Healthy Minds survey, they believed that 99% of Cal Poly students drink. And only about 74% reported actually having a drink in the last 30 days, which means that there is a huge gap between who is drinking on a regular basis and who we perceive as drinking on a regular basis. And that matters because of confirmation bias, right? The more that we think we will see something, the more likely we are to see it. And people who drink heavily tend to hang out with others who drink heavily. So it creates this feedback loop that we think we see this happening, therefore it feels like everyone is doing it, therefore we do it, and then we end up being around people who do it all the time. But some of those stark realities are, that only 26% of our students haven't had a drink in the last 30 days. So not only are they moderating, but it doesn't hold a significant place in their life at all. Other stark realities, approximately 20% of US college students fit the criteria for a substance use disorder. that's one of those things that I kind of want to bring to the forefront, because often what I hear from students is, I can't be an alcoholic, I'm in college. Um, and does that mean that everyone who drinks is going to develop an issue? No. But really knowing that some of these habits and some of the ways that we manage things during college do have an effect on how we move forward in our lives. And the sad and stark reminder that over 1,800 college age students die per year from alcohol involved unintended injuries. And I think that's important because that's where you come in, right? As leaders on campus, you get these students and you get to get them a clearer picture of what life on campus is. And if you have a holistic view of how to support yourself and your well-being and how to support their health and well-being, it sets a tone that what these 4 years might look like. And there will be students that you come across, no doubt, who are already in recovery. So know that we have first-year students coming to us directly out of treatment programs. And it's important to be accepting of people and what they choose to do, but also important not to assume that everyone drinks, and correct that perception when you come across it. And as we talked about in food and mood, alcohol is a depressant and can exacerbate feelings of stress and anxiety, things that most of us, all of us, don't want or need more of. So now we'll move into some of the mental health concerns that I hear people talking about at Cal Poly. As a room full of high achievers, on a campus of high achievers, I want to tell you something that is very important. And if you remember nothing else from this, I hope you will take this away. It's okay not to be great. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to need help. And if someone you know is struggling, it's okay not to be the expert. I've worked on campus for over 6 years. I've worked with a lot of students with a lot of different stories. And one thing that I've found consistently is that oftentimes those who offer the most help to others are the most reluctant to ask for help. So I ask you to think about how you feel when someone asks you for help. Chances are you don't judge them. You don't tell them to get over it. You're honored by the fact that they're reaching out to you and you want to offer them as much help as you can. And we all need help on occasion. In the same Healthy Minds study that I talked about earlier on, 65% of the students polled in Cal Poly felt very sad. 64 felt overwhelming anxiety. 56 felt things were hopeless. 70% felt very lonely. And what's really striking is that 70% of all the students surveyed stated that they went to a friend for help before seeking additional services. They didn't go to a professional, they went to a friend. That means that you have either probably already had someone come to you for help or have gone to a friend when struggling with something. But you have also been in a position where a friend didn't come to you for help, I'm guessing, and you knew something was off. So that's when we can start looking for signs. And I'm going to say friends in this, you know your friends, you know the students that you're going to be working with in quarter plus. You know when something's off. Chances are, like I said, that each of you has had that experience when a friend tells you, oh, I'm fine, but you know they're not. And whether it was with a fight with a friend or something serious, trust your gut. I always say trust your gut. You know when something's wrong. Sometimes it may be evident that someone you know is in distress and may need help. Sometimes you might have to look closer at their behaviors and talk about the thoughts and feelings that they express. It's really valuable to note changes in behaviors, and I want to underline changes in. It doesn't mean going from, all of a sudden they're wearing baggy clothes, unless if that's not their norm. So you're looking for changes in behavior. So sudden and drastic changes in appearance. Frequent or sudden mood changes, mood swings, or acting like a different person, like suddenly they are just in a different place. Changes in behavior in the way they communicate, such as different speech patterns or changes in the rhythm or frequency of communication. So what I mean by that is you're used to somebody who is that on it, text it person. You text them and they respond within 5-10 minutes, and suddenly they're going hours or days without responding to you. Sometimes changes in friendships or relationships that are difficult to explain or that seem dangerous to you. A loss of interest in things they've typically been interested in, including academics. Their grades are dropping, or they don't seem to be caring about school. and the list that you see on your screen. It's important to remember that these are going to look different for everyone. You know your friends, you know when things feel off, and trust your gut. So you know the signs, you know to trust your gut, you know your friends, but now what? That's a tough conversation to have. And this discussion can be a difficult one for a lot of different reasons, whether it's concern about their mental health or their substance use. It's a very fine line, and it can be difficult to bring it up. We're often afraid that we might be wrong. We might be afraid that we might be right. We don't know what to do if they tell you yes. We don't know what to do if they tell you no. Many of us are afraid to make a mistake. And it's called a difficult conversation because it's just that, it's difficult. It's not a conversation about what we're doing this weekend or let's plan a trip or it's almost break. It's difficult, but it is absolutely worth it. And you can always start, if you don't know where to start with, I'm worried about you because. And so some other ways that you might broach the subject, start by explaining why you're concerned. Use specific examples like you've been staying in bed a lot lately or you've been missing class. Focus on specific behaviors. Start with the why. Really, really listen to what they have to say and everything they have to say. Let them finish. Let them just talk. You may be surprised at where they end up if you just give them that space and the open door to have a conversation with somebody. Showing empathy is hugely important, of course. Express that you're trying to help, not judging, not fixing. Don't feel like you need to have the answer. Just let them know that you're there and you're hearing them. And it's also really important to know your limits. You don't have to be the expert. You don't have to solve the problem. Hear them out, empathize, connect them with resources, and continue that conversation. Challenges that you didn't expect might arise, and that's okay. It doesn't actually mean you did anything wrong. What you've done in this instance is show them that you care. And showing them that you care and that you're paying attention and you want what's best for them almost never makes things worse. But what to do if they don't want to talk? And that may very well happen for a myriad of reasons, right? It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. They might believe that they don't have a problem or that facing that problem will make it worse. They might be worried about possible consequences. They might feel judged or threatened, or they just might not be ready to talk. If they're not ready to talk, ask if you can talk about it at a different time or suggest someone else that they might talk to. You might recommend a mental health professional or a campus support resource. Whatever happens, it's important to keep communicating with your friend. Make sure that you're able to reach them and that they're able to reach you. And follow up and keep trying. It may be what your friend needs to know is that you really care and that you actually do want to hear how they are. And then they'll open up enough to ask for help. Keep in mind that when you have your friend's best interest at heart or your student's best interest at heart, you're not betraying them or their trust by showing concern or asking for help. You're watching out for them. And that's what friends do. Where you can go for support. I want to underline that if you ever feel there might be potential for harm to self or others, contact campus emergency services or call 911. That's what they are there for. It's okay if you're wrong. Letting them know and having them come out and assess if you feel like there is a danger. Many of these resources here listed are on campus, and they're all designed to not only help the person who's struggling, but also they're resources for you. So if you don't know what to do next, or you want to talk with someone about what you're seeing and get some feedback, every one of these resources is available to you. Some of them are immediate. Some of them you might need to wait a little bit. So know if you need help right away. But don't forget to ask for support. Don't be afraid to go to your pro staff, share your concerns. It can be incredibly difficult to do, but it may mean the difference between that student getting the support that they need and not getting it. And it also really sets a precedence for their time at Cal Poly. It sets the precedence that people care about them, that they are ready to hear them and support them in any way that they need. Okay, I know this was a lot of information. I want to remind you that you don't have to be perfect. Again, balance. Remember that balance is a verb. You shift and change. You do what you can, you try your best, you shift again. In all of this information, remember you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. Fill your cup first before you can help others. So seek out support, talk with mentors and friends, and take care of yourself. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you have a great time with Quarter Plus. And if you have any questions, concerns, we are happy to help in any way. Again, if you do feel someone is in danger, please don't be afraid to call 911. But if you just need support, here is my contact information. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. And a brief reminder to start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. You needn't be perfect. We're all here learning, and we're all here to help.